Hi, I'm Ms. Prachi Safekar, and I'm the founder of CEVA. Well, today we are going to do something very exciting. I want to welcome Roshni Lachhwani, who is the founding attorney of Intellexsys. Roshni, hi. Thank you for being here, and thank you for our newest community member.
Hi Prachi, I'm so excited to be a part of this, and I was very happy to be a part of Kiva, definitely.
We are very happy to have you on board. So, guys, today we are going to talk about something very cool, and that is how to choose the right brand name for your startup. Yeah, Roshni, why don't we begin by you telling us a little bit about you and a little bit about your work and what you do?
Okay, so I'm actually an intellectual property rights attorney. By intellectual property, I mean I handle trademarks, copyright, patents, and so on. Intellexsys started 5 years back when I started my practice with Intellexsys on my own. And we started doing work in the field of intellectual property, and we've catered to 1,000 plus clients over the last 5 years, and Kiva being one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, guys, we got our trademark registered from Roshni. So, yeah. So Roshni, tell me, why did you come up with the name Intellexsys? How did that happen? How
So
did you?
Intellexsys is actually a combination of three words. Intel is the short for intellectual property. That's how I got that word.
Right.
Lex is legal for Latin, and sys is short for systems. So I actually came up with this term on my own, calling it Intellexsys. And luckily, when I searched on Google and when I searched everywhere else, it was pretty much available. Nobody was using it, so that's how it really helped me also to combine it legally and from a branding perspective. It sounded nice. It was slightly technically difficult, but that's okay for a law firm, so that works. Yeah.
The entire your entire brand name Intellexsys?
It's legal solutions. That's not
Intellect
my name particularly, but that's my company.
Right, that's your company. Okay. So I'll tell you the full form. A lot of people have asked me what is KEVA, and it's not SEVA, it's KEVA, and KEVA stands for Creative Enhancing Visual Awareness. Okay, so what we want at KEVA is to creatively enhance ourselves and become visually aware of what we are doing. So that's how the name came. And yeah, as we just
But that's
discussed,
a
Roshni was,
innovative
you
way to come up with it.
know, yeah, well, I think it just happened, because years ago I started off with a photography module, which I was doing, which was like this. And then it just came to me that this is how I want to, build it. So yeah, it's Keva Education now. And thanks to Roshni, we've gotten our trademark by her. Uh, so Roshni, there is a story behind everyone's uh, brand name that people choose. How important is it to choose the right brand name? I mean, is it worth putting in that much effort and time in actually picking the right brand name for your company? Because at the end of the day, it's your identity. So, so how important is it?
So I'll start with a small story actually. When you walk into an aisle of a supermarket, we see competitors lined up against each other with different brand names and different packaging. And Prachi, if you would walk into a juice section, you'll pick up a certain brand because you like the certain quality or the taste of it, or the sugar levels
Absolutely.
that it has, or the taste of the fruit that they have. Particularly, you pick up a certain brand for your own perspective reason. What if you walked into a supermarket wherein they were filled full of brown paper packets? You would be really confused as to what to pick up, what's better than
Correct.
the other. So ideally, brand names are very important to identify the product from the source of origin. So basically, from where it comes from, and source of
That's
origin
great.
identifies the quality and the characteristics of that particular product, and that's why a brand name plays a very important role in that.
Hmm. Right. So how does one go about, choosing the right brand name? Coming to the
So
main question.
like I said, like how you had a very nice example for Keva. So what happens is you can have acronyms for multiple words that make sense together. It can be something that's non-relevant to your business. It can be something non-descriptive. There are certain criteria, but when you go to choose a good brand name, there are a lot of ways that you can work around. For example, you can search for different languages meaning the same thing if you're applying for an Indian target audience. So these are the few kind of things that you can do to actually get a good brand name.
Right. So, like, in how would one, what would be the steps when somebody is deciding their brand name? How are there any online, offline tools that they can use, to which can help them decide their brand name? Or are there any creative ways or activities that they can do? Any methods that can help? Like, how could you define the process of choosing the brand name?
So, number one is definitely before going for any kind of search for a brand name, ideally one has to definitely list down the number of brand names that they like. So, for example, I would recommend definitely coining a term. So, for example, coining a term by that I mean to say that they have to pick up multiple words that they like, which match together, and probably mix and match them and create a brand name like I did for Intellexsys, or pick up the starting alphabets of few words which they like and join it together to have a good brand name. These are one or two activities or examples that they can do. Apart from that, they can pick their initials. If it's available, then definitely we can work around that as well. Preferably, it should not be something that's descriptive, that is describing your business. We generally have clients coming up with us with brand names which have the business being described in it, which definitely cannot be applied for
Can
as
you
a
give
trademark. As in your case, sorry.
Can you give some examples of like descriptive brand names, what you're talking about?
So, for example, in CEVA education, if I had to only, say, call it CEVA education, and if I would apply for a brand name saying CEVA education, which is describing the business, and that is entirely consisting of the brand name, then education as a part would have to be disclaimed as a right, because education is a descriptive term. Now, this is in your case, but many times what happens is people come up to us by saying that paint it yourself, this is our brand name, or find your tutor. So what happens in that case is you are actually describing your business, or you're saying that buy your tickets online. If you're coming up with such brand names, they are very good keywords, but they are not great brand names. They are good keywords for having a good search engine optimization done on Google, but they are not a great brand name. But as coming back to your question as to how one should choose, definitely there are online offline tools available for generating brand names. When you go online, there are a lot of brand name generators that are available online. People tend to use them. Sometimes it's recommended to use them. You may come up with something new, but it's very difficult that if you purchase brand names online, I wouldn't recommend that highly, because unless and until you've been given an absolute exclusive license to use it across the globe, which doesn't happen, because of course brand names which are being sold online are not really exclusive. Multiple people can purchase those brand names in different countries, and in the end, you dilute your own brand name. By dilute, I mean you lose your rights over it. Like it happened in the case of Xerox. We have Jumbo Xerox all across
Right.
uh, town, and Xerox is one of the biggest companies in the world, and unfortunately, they had to lose their brand.
Yeah, I mean, there are, brands like Xerox and Maggie are actually, they've become a symbol of recognition for the particular product. Like, nobody says noodles, I'm going to buy noodles. People say, I'm going to buy Maggie. So it's a brand altogether. Or Xerox is a brand altogether. Which is Xerox.
Yeah,
Uh, I think until recently, people didn't even know that Xerox is actually a
it's a
brand.
brand.
It's not something, you know.
They thought
So
in photocopy.
exactly. So, tell me something. How important is it to, whenever you're choosing your brand name, how important is it to resonate to your product? Is it essential or not essential? Like, does your products and services have to, uh, like, do they have to identify with your brand name, or can your brand name be absolutely anything out of the blue? A lot of people like go in for spiritual brand names, even for clothing items, for example, right? Like Moksha for a clothing item or something like that. So, how would you, uh, what would you say about that?
So actually, the world's biggest brand names are something that mean absolutely nothing, and they have no relevancy to their product. So, for example, Coca-Cola has it means nothing, and it does not have any relevancy to what the product is. Obviously, people now recognize a black colored drink as a cola, but that's now. That wasn't the case. It doesn't have a dictionary term as cola is a black colored drink. That's not what it meant initially. The same is the case with
Okay, so we've lost Roshni, but get her back again. Hi, Roshni. We lost her.
sorry, I just
Oh,
got a sorry, I'm just
no
putting it on
problem.
flight.
So, yeah, you were talking about cola. Roshni? All right, guys, we have lost her again, but I'm sure we'll get her back. Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
she's back. Hi, Rosh. Okay,
I've just put on flight. Sorry.
talking about cola.
Yeah. So I was talking about Coca-Cola, and then we have Apple as a brand name for iPhones. Of course, Apple doesn't have any relevancy to what the brand does. They're selling electronics. So definitely some of the biggest brands like Pepsi means nothing. Kodak means nothing. In fact, I've heard a story about Kodak wherein it said that the person who wanted the brand name to start from with K and end with K, and then they kept searching for one which suited and they didn't get one. And then they kept clicking the camera and it made a sound called Kodak. So that's where it came from. That's a story. Now I don't know whether it's how
Oh,
real it is, but definitely that's how people have come up with the biggest brand names that we know of.
right, right.
So
So,
it is ideal that if it means nothing at all.
okay. So people can, you're saying that, people can come up with names that actually, they just, I mean, there is a brand essence and there is a meaning to it and there's a purpose to it.
Right.
Not necessarily that it has to resonate with your product or with your services. Am I
Right.
right? Okay. So, how do you add a good recall value for your brand? So, how does one do that? I mean, obviously, marketing is a very big tool, and people, the way their services are, how their brand is, how their services are, they define a good recall value. But even a brand name can have a good recall value, just like a logo. So, does that work? How can you enhance?
One of the most important things is I think many people focus only on the brand and not on the product, but it is the combination of a great product and a great brand name together that make that hit it in the market very well.
Right,
So I think even if your brand name is great and no matter how many ever marketing strategies you apply for, if your product is not that great, it may not do very well in the long run. So that's definitely important. At least the product has to be great for the target audience that you're aiming at. Um,
right.
Apart from that, sorry, you had another question.
No, no. I said, how can you add a good recall value to your brand
Yes.
name?
So to add another like enhancements would be like, for example, in the case of Coca-Cola, they have a bottle shape that has a particular design, and so has Toblerone has this particular chocolate shape, the triangular shaped chocolates, which are mounted in different with space in between. So what happens is in these cases they have design patterns applied, on that behalf, and then eventually because people started recognizing. So if you would walk into a market and you just saw this entire bar of triangular shaped chocolates, you would immediately know it's Toblerone, even if the packaging did not have Toblerone written on. And the
Absolutely.
same case is in the case of Coca-Cola. You watch the bottle and without any labels, we've tried and tested this with a lot of people. We do quizzes all the time. We just share the bottle shape and they know that it's Coca-Cola. So
Right.
that is the way that you create brand recall value. You have to have added enhancements with respect to your product design or any shape of your chocolate or your packaging. So, for example, you see a purple colored chocolate and you remember Cadbury. Although they
Right.
were not very successful in getting a trademark for the purple color in some countries, but definitely, I mean, your brand recall value is on the basis of all these added enhancements. The only the branding doesn't work in that case. A lot of enhancements also work on that.
So, in terms of creating your logo design, because that at the end, enhancement for your brand name. Can you share some tips on that?
So definitely logos primarily. Number one, please do not purchase logos online, and please do not, you know, uh, click pictures or download pictures that are available on Google, freely available on public domain, because even others can use them. Definitely, you can use them, then even others can. and that doesn't give you any exclusivity. Without exclusivity, there's no monopoly, right? That's common sense. But unfortunately, we've seen a lot of clients picking up logos from a lot of online portals that are available, and then we get notice from them once they are coming into sight, and then it becomes a really expensive procedure to go back, change your packaging design and printing and all the work on social media. It becomes a bigger headache. So definitely that's what recommended. Ideal is to get your logos sketched from scratch, created with a new mindset, absolute fresh mindset. They have to be created from scratch. Absolutely. They have to be something new for having a monopoly.
So Roshni, how can we protect our brand name? And now that we're talking about logos, is there a way to also protect our logos?
Yes, definitely. See, a trademark covers multiple aspects. For example, it protects smell as well, which is very shocking for people to know. But it protects smell, it protects sound, it protects certain 3D marks as well, apart from the regular brand name and your logo. Now, logos are also protected under trademark. A lot of people think that logos are protected under copyright, but that's not the case. Copyright is for artistic works, in the sense that copyright protects an artistic part of your logo. If there is a sketched logo which has an artistic element to it, that particular element can go under copyright, subject to an NOC from trademark. Definitely, then you have to make two applications, and trademark and a copyright.
And how essential is it to get your brand name trademarked? I mean, can you do without it, or is it necessary? If you can.
See, one thing is very important, that it is not compulsory to register a trademark. That's a very important insight for people. It is definitely highly recommended, because what happens when you invest so much time and energy in building your brand and in creating your brand name, or in investing in the money of creating the logo, it is definitely recommended, if you're going to use it for the next 5 years, then it is advisable that you apply for a trademark. But however, it is not compulsory. If you have enough evidence to prove that you have been using it for a long period of time, and much before then another competitor who started using it after you, then you can definitely have a hand about that.
Right. And what happens if you don't legalize your brand name, if you don't do a trademark? What can happen? Like,
See, we've had few cases wherein, sneaky competitors have seen that the client has been a little lax in applying for a trademark, and they have applied for a trademark before them, and even have got a registration. After that, the process is even more difficult to deal with respect to expenses as well as the technicalities. To prove
right.
that you've been using the brand name before them, you need enough evidences. And if the period of time is very close to each other. So, for example, if somebody started business in 2018, February, and the competitor started business in March 2018, then it's a really big tight situation, because if the client does not have enough invoices from February 2018, he may not receive the trademark. So, there are certain tight situations that we have faced, or still currently facing, still going. Cases are going on because the client is not willing to claim the trademark, and rightfully so, because they started first.
Right.
But however, to get evidence is very difficult given the current situation, because people don't maintain paperwork, and it's very difficult to do that.
And also I think that a lot of startups think that we're not sure how long we are going to grow and all, but I think if you get it done in the beginning itself, it'll help you, right? Because as you grow, if you grow quickly, then you might, and your brand is going to be recognized by people. So why not protect it, right?
Right.
If we legalize our own name, then
Yeah,
what's the harm in legalizing our own brand's name, right?
exactly.
So what are the steps of getting a trademark done?
So the first step is definitely to get a search done. Whether you go to an attorney or not, please get your trademark searched. There are portals available online for doing the search as well. However, you will need technical assistance to do a search. See, an IP attorney's primary job is consultancy. Anybody can apply for a trademark themselves as well, subject to if they have the basic understanding of it. But you definitely need technical expertise to conduct a search, because there are multiple facets that the search covers, and a basic search is not, enough. So, for example, a lot of clients say that we've done the search already, we don't need to get it done. But we're very strict with respect to that. We will be very adamant to say that the search is the most important part, because without that, I will not be able to go ahead, because then I'll be liable, or I'll be responsible for a trademark not getting a clearance later on. if there is any kind of mishap.
In fact, this is my personal experience also. Before I approached you, I remember telling you this also, that I had already searched for Keva and I didn't find the name online. So when you found it for me, all these small technical things make it much more easier to go to an attorney and get it done. So what are the steps to get it done? So for example, once to
First is
get
the
done.
search. Yes, first the search, then you apply for a trademark. Once you apply for a trademark, you get an examination report once the formalities have cleared on behalf of them. It takes a total 6 months period. The formalities get cleared after you get an examination report. It may either be accepted or rejected or objected, given certain objections or any queries raised by the examination department. If the queries are resolvable, then what we do is we have to submit a reply. Now, post the reply, they come back to us saying that, okay, we've accepted or we have gone ahead with it or we've advertised it in their official journal. So there is a 4 month compulsory period that they have, advertise it in their official journal. That is the official journal that's available on their website. Once it has been advertised, they wait for that 4 month window period for any oppositions from any outside parties. If there is no opposition, then it gets cleared, and within 6 months, you should have a registration certificate in hand. However, if you have, for example, if you have an opposition during that 4 month period, then we have to deal with it, and this the procedure may get elongated from 6 months till up to 18 months. It also happens with some objections that on this period get.
Sorry, Roshni, I'm having a slight trouble hearing your voice. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, okay. So, sorry, what was the last thing you said? If you could just repeat the last line.
The last thing that I said is that if there is any opposition from a third party, then that has to be dealt with.
Right.
And of course, the time period gets elongated in that.
Right. Okay. So is the procedure same when you're doing it yourself and with an attorney, or is there a difference in that?
The procedure is the same. There is no difference in the procedure whether you do it yourself or by an attorney. What happens is that generally we've seen clients a lot of times they file for trademarks themselves, but then they get stuck. They make some small administrative error or a technical error during the filing procedure. Right. And because of that, period gets elongated unnecessarily for a long period of time. So definitely you need an attorney's assistance. Once you're done with the filing part of it, you definitely need an attorney's assistance with respect to replying to objections or replying to any oppositions or dealing with it or understanding the procedure of a trademark. See, trademark procedure is not like domain name where you go online and purchase one yourself, and it's very, very easy to purchase a domain name because it's really available. However, a trademark is not that simple. There are a lot of technicalities involved.
Right. Absolutely. So, how does one do a search? You said searching is very important and essential, right? So, right in the beginning, how does if I have to search for myself, if I have to search for a brand name, where would I look for it?
So there is a public search engine freely available, ipindia.nic.in website, and that public search engine is freely available. But as I said, technical expertise for that. Basic search may be available on that website. You'll have to understand the classifications. Again, the classifications that are provided are broad headings and not detailed headings. So you will need technical expertise for that as well. Apart from that, you can definitely use Google. Google is a very good, portal where you can do a search. If you find something similar, please don't. That's the recommendation.
Right. Okay. So, as a layman, I understand that all I need to do is, submit some documents to you or some information to you, and then there's nothing more. You'll do the search, and then it takes about 4 months, right? Period where anyone can object. 6 months. Am I right? Okay. So very simple process. It's not too much.
Yeah.
And Roshni over here does trademark registration. So if any of y'all require to get your trademarks registered, y'all can contact her. We'll provide you with her contact details as well if y'all just get in touch with us and ask us. So Roshni, just give us an idea. How much, what is the range? How much does one need to spend usually on getting a trademark? Is it very expensive, or how does it happen?
So the government fees range between 5,000 to 10,000. However, attorney fees really differ from attorney to attorney or agent to agent, whoever you choose. Further above that, what happens is that this is the cost for 10 years. So, for example, if you do not have any, oppositions in between or hearings that come, an attorney may charge for a 10-year hearing, or an attorney may charge for a an objection. If you don't have any of these extra additional costs, this is your base cost for the next period of 10 years that you will have to, avail that. That's very reasonable with respect to a 10-year period of registration. And to go through the entire process, it's a very tedious process for the examination department to examine. They have to allot so many people to go through your trademarks. So definitely the cost is very reasonable to the government side. And once this procedure gets through, you have to just pay a renewal fee after a period of 10 years, and every 10 years you can keep renewing.
Okay. Great. And once you've kept your brand name, can you by any chance change it? For example, in a year, I decide or in 2, 3 years, I decide, CEVA is not working for me. I want to change my brand name altogether. Is it possible to change the brand name, or is it not possible?
So I would not recommend to change the brand name for one, because you're working so hard to create a brand name or value.
Right.
It's not recommended to change your brand name or logo. If you've seen over a period of years, KFC or name it for Apple or name it name like any kind of company like Coca-Cola, they've made very fine-tuned changes in their brand names, in their logo especially. But over a period of years, you'll never be able to spot that there has been a huge change. Their names are still the same, and that's where they are. That they have is because of not changing the brand. Secondly, if you're still adamant about changing the brand name, that is, you have to definitely reapply for a trademark, because your trademark is for a different brand name and you have to make a new application for it.
Right. So, because trademark particular name, reapply and get a new one altogether. Am I
Yeah,
right?
right.
Okay. And at what stage, of a startup do you recommend someone to go and get a brand name trademark? Because a lot of people, especially startups or people who are starting their business, they're not sure about how much, in how long they're going to be successful, or by when do they want to start it, or how it's going to go. So, at what stage of a startup would you recommend a person to go and the trademark?
See, at the initial stage of startup, what we do is, unless and until the startup is going public, we suggest the startup, if you have enough funds, then you must definitely go for a wordmark application instead of your logo, because logo, you can definitely get protection under copyright as it is. But if you're applying for a wordmark, that is definitely recommended, because your phonetics are protected. That is how your name sounds. At least that gets protected. However, if the startup has financial issues and they are not able to afford the expenses, and they want to rather utilize the expenses in their business, so we tell them to hold on for a bit until they've accumulated enough to apply for a trademark, and then we recommend them to apply for a trademark. Or else we have a startup scheme going on by the government, which gives a lot of startup facilitator agents like myself, who do not charge professional fees, or who get a redemption of professional fees from the government, subject to the startup having a startup certificate in hand. So then they just have to bear the government fees, and that's it.
What recommend generation owners or new business owners? Is there something that you would like to say to all of them?
So number one, I would like to say that we've been facing major issues with respect to clients coming to us once they finish designing everything. They finish designing their logo, they finish designing the brochures, their printouts, and they've already started printing, packaging material. So one thing I would definitely recommend that please contact an IP attorney or get your trademark sorted much before you get into all of this, because your expenses to retract all of this information is much more than applying for a trademark. So, not to be penny wise, pound foolish. That's the definite, you know, uh, suggestion that I can give new generation.
Thank you, Roshni. One last thing, how are you doing in the lockdown, and what do you recommend everyone to do during this coronavirus lockdown, lock up at home?
I think definitely they should focus on marketing themselves. This is the best period to market. Everybody's on their phone right now, and everybody is free. Of course, people are busy with doing their household chores, and they are busy, trying to wrap up a lot of mess that they created over a period of time. But definitely, right now, I would definitely recommend marketing yourself, focusing on promoting. Some people may sulk, if they're not making enough money to survive. But I would say make the most of it. Utilize this time. That's all.
Absolutely. We're all going to get back on our feet very soon.
Yes.
Economy is going to come so quickly. All right. Thank you so much, Roshni. It was wonderful having you on board. Thank you so much for chatting with us. And guys, once the lockdown is over and we are all back, we hope to do many more actual face-to-face events with Roshni and conduct some workshops with her. And now she's a part of the CEVA community. She's hopefully going to be here for long. So thank you so much once again, Rosh,
Thank
for
you so
being here.
much, Roshni. It was a lovely time chatting with you, and I really enjoyed this session. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
I have to tell you, by the way, me and Roshni go way back in time. So start, we actually know each other from tuitions when we were kids. So it's really nice to see each other grow and reach a point where now we are working together, which is fantastic. it's
It's such a
it's
nice moment.
yeah, nostalgia, but at the same
Totally.
time. All right, Rob, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
guys. And if you have any more questions, please let us know, and I'm sure Roshni will answer you. We are going to do a small Q&A session as well on Instagram Live, so be there and check us out. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Rosh.
Lots of love. Bye.
Bye.